I'll put you in prison for 1,000 years. The shout sliced through the courthouse lobby like glass against concrete. Gasps rippled as Officer Jack Mercer pointed his handcuffs directly at the quiet black man near the security checkpoint. Darryl Thomas didn't flinch. His blazer was creased, his shoes dusty, and his bag worn down at the edges. But his stillness, his silence, held more weight than Jack's scream. The two men locked eyes. Time slowed. Then Darryl's voice came low, measured. Wait until I get you out first. No shout. No flare. Just words, heavy as a gavel. A mother pulled her child back. Clerks paused mid-step. Phones were raised, but no one dared speak. Officer Mercer's lips curled. His fists closed. And the temperature in the room dropped. Jack Mercer's hand hovered near his belt, fingers tightening around the cuffs as he stepped forward. You think that little line's gonna scare me, he hissed. Men like you always forget who's really in charge. Darryl's gaze didn't waver. He calmly reached into his blazer pocket, slow, deliberate. A few people flinched. Out came a flash of silver. A federal identification badge, slightly worn but clearly official. The seal of the U.S. Court of Appeals gleamed under the fluorescence. Jack's expression faltered. But pride was a hard thing to loosen. Badge or not, he growled, you don't belong back here. I saw you near that evidence locker. That's obstruction. Darryl lowered his hand, letting the badge hang between them. I didn't cross the line. I pointed to it. That's called due process. You getting smart with me? No, Darryl said quietly. I'm being very patient. Whispers rose. Two junior clerks exchanged nervous glances. One mouthed silently, isn't that him? Jack stepped closer, nearly chest to chest now. A suit doesn't erase who you are underneath. There it was. Racism, unmasked. The silence grew heavy, sharp. Darryl adjusted the frayed strap of his messenger bag. You ever read Title 18, Section 242, he asked calmly. Jack narrowed his eyes. What? It defines criminal penalties for any officer who, under color of law, willfully deprives someone of their constitutional rights. Jack scoffed. What are you, some kind of lawyer? Darryl didn't smile. I used to be. He stepped past Jack without waiting for permission and laid a sealed envelope on the front desk. Deposition. For today's misconduct hearing. The word lingered in the air like smoke. Behind him, Jack's face turned the color of boiling water. And somewhere in the crowd, a phone began recording. Jack's jaw clenched. You think that piece of paper means anything? I could. He stopped. A photograph had slipped from Darryl's folder, fluttering to the floor. It landed between them, face up. Darryl. Shaking hands with the Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court. Signed. Framed in the camera flashes of a formal event. The hush in the lobby became complete. Jack stared down at the image, his hands frozen mid-motion. Then came a chair's creak behind the reception counter. The deputy court administrator stood, her voice level but clear. Officer Mercer, she said, I believe you owe Mr. Thomas an apology. Jack didn't move. His knuckles stayed white around the cuffs. Darryl slowly bent, picked up the photo, and brushed imaginary dust from the corner. He didn't need to say anything, the weight of that picture did it for him. He turned toward the growing crowd. More staff had gathered. Some whispered. Others simply watched, unsure whether to step forward or shrink back. Darryl placed his federal badge next to the deposition folder on the counter. I'm not here for revenge, he said quietly. I'm here to remind you how dangerous it is, when the law forgets it works for the people. Gasps. Murmurs. And then, movement. The junior clerk, who had been silent until now, stepped out from behind the desk and gently pulled out a chair. For you, sir. But Darryl didn't sit. A shift passed through the crowd. Phones lowered. Eyes widened. From the hallway came footsteps, measured, heavy, purposeful. A man entered. Uniform starched, insignia sharp. The courthouse captain. Officer Mercer, he said, steel in his voice. My office. Now. Jack turned, startled. Sir, I was just, he doesn't have authority. The captain cut him off. He is the federal oversight liaison assigned to investigate you. Silence crushed the room. Jack's face drained of color. He blinked, once, twice. His lips moved, but nothing came out. The captain didn't wait. The letter was sent last week. You didn't read it? Jack stood frozen, still gripping the cuffs like they'd anchor him to his job. Darryl, calm as ever, reached for the sealed envelope again and handed it to the clerk. This report, he said, includes 3 prior complaints. 2 from your department. 1 from a mother whose son you detained without cause. A ripple of shock moved through the room. The captain took a deep breath. His voice was firm now. I want your weapon and badge on my desk in 10 minutes. And don't say another word until your lawyer arrives. Jack sagged visibly. His arms dropped to his sides. Even the cuffs looked heavier now. Darryl didn't gloat. He simply turned and walked toward the courtroom doors. As he passed Jack, he paused, not long, just enough. Next time you throw around 1,000 years, Darryl murmured, make sure your own time isn't up. The line hit like a verdict. Behind him, Jack collapsed onto the nearest bench. In his trembling hand sat the badge he'd just been told to surrender. A symbol, stripped. A future, cracked. Inside the courtroom, Darryl didn't speak. He walked to the bench, placed the folder down gently, and nodded to the clerk. No robe. No announcement. Just quiet authority. The judge looked up, then at the folder, then back at Darryl. A single nod of respect passed between them. In the gallery, no one said a word. No cameras. No whispers. Just breath held, eyes fixed. Darryl moved to a seat near the back and sat down. Alone. Calm. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver lapel pin, shaped like the scales of justice. The edges were worn, not polished. It wasn't for show. He set it gently on the bench beside him. And stared at it. Not as a symbol of power, but as a reminder of why he was there. Outside, the buzz had faded. Phones had stopped. Jack Mercer was gone. But the silence Darryl left behind, remained. Not fear. Not shame. Something deeper. A kind of quiet that demanded reflection. And just before he stood to leave, one of the younger clerks whispered to another, he didn't even raise his voice. Darryl left the pin behind. And walked out without a word. Because sometimes, the loudest authority is the one that doesn't shout. And justice, when real, speaks in silence.